Thanks one and all. This is vk3sl. Welcome to our test program, and we are getting organised. Hello, you're there with us, Frank?
Yes, I am.
I was just going to let the listener know that you might have been delayed, but you did you still do the callback?
No, he hasn't really done it yet. He's running behind time.
I was listening, actually. I was listening earlier on. I've just had a rest this evening, and I had that on the background for a while.
I had a bit of a rest too.
Yeah. Do you want to sort of hang around for it? I mean, I don't mind at all. I'm just going to play a couple of overtures.
I might
and
just go and listen. And call in quickly. I think he's about to do that.
Do that. Because I'll start by playing Orpheus and the Underworld, and then a couple of overtures.
Look one.
Yeah, no, the Offenbach.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
I don't think I might stay.
No, wait a minute. I'll save that. I'll save it for when you come back. I'll let that keep spinning. I'll play something else.
Offenbach, I think I've told you. I don't. It's a type of music that I don't particularly appreciate, but there's something about Offenbach that I find very alluring.
I know, it's fun. I like his. He had a great panache for melody and flair, and he's got that
without sounding sickly or melodramatic or.
Totally. I'll tell you what. I'll play. Let's see. I've got a recording here of a Polish tango. Let's play that.
Oh, that'll be okay. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah, actually, it's a German tango from 1939. All right, I'll play this first, and then we'll get back on board. Okay. Yeah, we'll catch up with Frank very soon.
The frequency.
Yes, just a temporary thing, because Frank's calling in on the he's calling on the ASV hotline. And but look, in the interim, we'll just hear a couple of things. This is Friedrich Hippmann and the Melody Tons Orchestra from 1939. Hey, there we have a little Polish offering there, or German actually. It was recorded in Berlin, I think. Yeah, you there with us again there, Frank?
Yes.
Okay.
He took a list of to call back whilst I was talking
Oh,
to
no.
you. It doesn't matter. It just if I were to wait, I'd be there for half an hour. So I'll call in next week.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's not. Don't be sorry. That's fine.
Okay.
I could call in any week, and I'll do it next week.
Okay, all righty. Fair enough. Well, what I'll do is I thought I'd explore some of John Hanna's recent uploads. He's put some really interesting things up on YouTube of late in the last couple of months, and I'm going to be a little bit lazy. I'll play a few 78s, but I will explore a few of his really unusual recordings. And there's another site that I frequent called Hector's Rare Recordings, and there's some absolutely fascinating recording from the 60s of Nelly, what's her last name? Nazarova, I think it is. She was a violinist who taught at the Victorian College of the Arts, Russian violinist, and she had this Nelikova, that's right. She had a very distinguished career in the USSR in the 1950s and 60s, and she came out to Australia and became a really significant figure here. She was I don't think she played much anymore, but she taught so many aspiring violinists in Melbourne. But she made a couple of LPs in the 50s or early 60s, and they are beyond astonishing. So I thought I'd just feature a little bit of her. She does the Moses Variations by Paganini, and it's just to behold. It's fabulous. So we might hear that a little bit later on. But as promised, we've got Orpheus on the table. I've just realised that the record's a bit warped. It's seen better days. I think it's at the back of a pile, which has been sort of, I don't know, maybe not quite... I think there's been a bit of pressure from other records, so the disc in question is rather warped. So we'll give it a go. But it happens to be a recording of the London Phil with Constant Lambert, and as promised, it's the Can or the overture from Orpheus in the Underworld.
Great fun.
Orpheus in his underpants. So here we go. We'll give it a burl. Bear with me while I flip the disc. we got there in the end. That was the famous Can to wind up the overture from the Barber of Seville. What am I saying? It's the Orpheus in the Underworld by Mr. Offenbach. Yeah, I'm pleased that record came up all right in the end. That was I was wondering about that one because it's very warped, but these long tone arms do help.
Played very well.
Yeah, it did. It was good. All right.
He writes this light operetta stuff to me without sounding schmaltzy like a lot of it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. Yeah, he's a great tunesmith, and one of the first part of the overture had the longest cadence I've heard for ages. It kept resolving.
Yeah, that's right.
It was great. But yes, you're right. It's not schmaltzy, and it's good fun. Good, wholesome fun.
Sort of Sigmund Romberg or...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Not, I know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, all right. From the same batch, this is the Philip batch. This is from a friend of John Fleming's who very kindly bestowed some 78s upon us a little while ago. That's one record from his batch. And another one is this recording of Peter Dawson. And I think it's really early. It's First World War vintage. It's one of those heavier 78s. It's got a rim around it. No, not quite. It'd be from about 1920, thereabouts. It's definitely acoustic. But it's interesting to hear Dawson as a bass. He sort of became bass baritone and more baritone-ish as he sort of went along. But,
great voice.
Yeah, fabulous voice. And so this is an earlier recording. And I suppose he's more of a bass here, but he's just so perfectly suited to this repertoire. And it's a recording of the not Barbara of Seville. It's the Toreador song. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep, it's the Toreador song from Carmen. And First World War vintage. But yeah, Peter Dawson, great voice and captivating performance. If it works, I'll switch in the right gramophone. Oh, it should work. Why is it not working? Bear with me, folks. That should be happening. Why are we getting nothing? Something's going on. All right, well, we might have to resort to... Oh, maybe I pulled the plug out. There it is. I'll start again. Take 2.
Flaming, I lift my glass to soldiers scared them all. Heroes like you, with courage flaming, filled with joy when they come and behold. See the circus strong with crowds of people, the things on the hill above below. Loud bells ring out from every steeple, all the world has come the show. What shouting, what splendid voices, when the bull cries out with angry roar. Artists then the hurry roll rejoices, to the banner when the fight is on. Look out, beware, look out, beware. When combat delay, bright-eyed fondly regard, before the constant wake, Toreador, hold thee upon the hard there comes the silence, what has happened now? All hearts are beating high, all hearts are beating high, since the mighty bull comes rushing out of a hurry. He flies, his bow he reaches, down goes the gallant horse, with him goes the Sigador. Bravo, Toro, shout out the people. On goes the bull, now here, now there, racing he flies. And demanded by the band of Illinois. It's twisty while he pipes, the arena screams its song. Many see for safety climb the fences. Now that Toreador is time, prepare, beware. Oh, Toreador, now God thee, Toreador, Toreador. Bear thou in mind when conquerors dealing, bright eyes pondering on, before the upon wing, Toreador, for the upon wing, Toreador, for the
Yeah, sung with such a blom. Marvellous stuff. That's Peter Dawson, and Australian Adelaide born Peter Dawson.
Is that his real name?
I think it is.
I think it is,
Yeah, I think so. Let me check this. Yes, he was born January 1882 and died in September 1961. Australian bass baritone. And, it says he was a songwriter. Okay, be interesting. It's interesting, it says here that he said early on that the gramophone was an instrument of torture, excruciating for the recording artist who needed lungs of leather to make an impression on the wax cylinders, which captured nothing but the very loudest noises.
That was then, and now this is quite different, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's
the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. So he started way back in 1904, and it's estimated that he made something between 1,500 and 3,500 recordings.
Oh my God.
It's absolutely staggering, isn't it? He was recording constantly and under many aliases, and very, very much an exploit of the British song and the parlour song, but sang also, I think he sang a lot in oratorio early on. And I was interested to read that he participated in the very first recordings of GNS in 1906.
Really?
And he performed in Covent Garden. I mean, look, he sort of worked with the best. He was out there. But one recording I'd really like to hear, and because he was renowned for his singing in The Messiah. And I'd be keen. I've queued this up, and one of many areas I enjoy, and I'm sure you do too, is "Why Do the Nations?"
Indeed.
It's just such a fabulously poignant moment in The Messiah, and here's a recording of Peter Dawson singing this. So I thought we'd cue this one up. And,
lovely.
Yeah, let's have a listen.
Furiously rage together. Why do the people imagine a vain king? Why do the nations rage so furiously together? Why do the people imagine a vain thing? Imagine a vain thing. Why do the nations so furiously rage together? And why do the people, imagine a vain thing? Why do the nations rage so furiously together? And why do the people imagine a vain thing. Imagine a vain thing. And why do the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth rise up, and the rulers take counsel together, take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, against the Lord and his anointed. Why do the nations so furiously rage together? Why do the people imagine a vain thing? Why do the nations rage so furiously together? Why do the people imagine a vain thing? Imagine a vain thing. Why do the nations so furiously rage together? And why do the people imagine a vain thing? Why do the nations rage so furiously together? And why do the people imagine a vain thing? Imagine a vain thing. And why do the people imagine a vain thing?
Sung with such authority, and that was Peter Dawson. That's I've never heard him sing that before.
Excellent.
Yeah, he's great. He's really got that sense of resolve and power, and what an orchestration, hey? That piece. It's great to hear it with all that brass added. Yeah, marvelous. I wonder if that's Beecham's or Mindy's edition of it. I don't know. It's quite early. That would have to be from the late 20s. I've been chasing late recordings of Peter Dawson. We sort of hear the many acoustic recordings and early electrics, and they're all great. But I was thinking it'd be great to hear him in his later years, because he was recording right up until 1955.
Well, there must be a lot of good ones, a lot of good electrical recordings.
Yes, there's quite a few, and I just stumbled on something. It's a recording of him singing the Floral Dance from a 2UE broadcast in the 50s.
I love the Floral Dance.
Yeah, and so it'll be a more impromptu performance because it's straight off radio. It's a little bit muffle missions. I think someone's over-transferred it. But look, it's worth having a listen to. I think he talks. I think he's interviewed, and he sort of tells the tale.
Yeah.
And so this is from Australian radio back in the 50s, and late Peter Dawson. And he passed away in 1961, very shortly after giving a recital in Adelaide, apparently.
Boy.
So, yeah, he was singing...
Must have been about 88, I think.
Yes, he was well in his 80s, and he was singing right to the end. Extraordinary career. Yeah.
About this floral dance, remember we were talking the other day, I suppose you've seen this actual floral dance in the other side in England, have you?
Oh, yes. Yes, on many an occasion.
What, do they sort of dance all through the streets? And
Yes, in and out of the houses, up and down the streets. They're usually the servants used to dance it early in the morning, and then the and then the higher-uppers, they had to go afterwards, about 11 o'clock.
Good.
Make a day of it, in and out of the houses. It's funny to hear when they enter a house, the whole of the band seems to be hooded. And when they come out the back door or the front door, they come into the street with a terrific woof. Yeah, a terrific woof. And all the people, by Jove, and the mud and stuff, if it happens to rain, the mud and stuff that they carry through the houses is nobody's business.
Well, they don't seem to care about that, eh?
No.
Ah, it's very, very interesting. All right, then, let's hear this song, The Florin Dance.
As I walked home on a summer night, far...
I've dried up. Wait a minute. What did it say there? Far away from the footlights, fancy me drying off in that song. I've sung it for 50 years.
That's lovely.
Oh, isn't it awful? I think it must be the heat.
Well, that's what we always are around here, Peter. We're always down to earth and sort of nobody cares, nobody worries as long as we have a good time.
No, that's right.
Good.
We're having a hot time, though, aren't we?
My word, we are.
Terrific, isn't it, eh? Ah, now I know.
As I walked home on a summer night, far from the notice, as I walked home on a summer night, when stars in heaven were shining bright, far away from the footlights' glare.
Shall we start again? We'll have another go.
As I walked home on a summer night, when stars in heaven were shining bright, far away from the footlights' glare, into the sweet and scented air of a quaint old Cornish town. Borne from afar in a gentle breeze, joining the murmur of summer seas, distant tones of an old world dance, played by the village band perchance, on the calm air came floating at dawn. I thought I could hear the curious tone of the cornet, clarinet, big trombone, fiddle, cello, big bass drum, bassoon, flute, and euphonium. Far away, as in a trance, I heard the sound of the floral dance. And soon I heard you bustling and prancing, and then I saw the whole village was dancing. In and out of the houses they came, old folk, young folk, all the same, in that quaint old Cornish tone. Every boy took a girl by the waist and hurried her off in tremendous haste. Whether they knew one another I care not, whether they cared at all I know not, but they kissed as they danced along. And there was a band with the curious tone of the cornet, clarinet, and the big trombone, fiddle, cello, big bass drum, bassoon, flute, and euphonium, each one making the most of his chance, all together in the floral dance. I felt so lonely standing there, and I could only stand and stare, for I had no maid with me. Lonely I should have to be in that quaint old Cornish town. When suddenly hastening down the lane, a figure I knew I saw quite plain, with outstretched hands I rushed along, and carried her into that merry throng, and fiddle and all went dancing dawn. We danced to the band with a curious tone of the cornet, clarinet, and a big trombone, fiddle, cello, big bass drum, bassoon, flute, and euphonium, each one making the most of him, each one making the most of him, each one making the most of his chance, all together in the floral dance, dancing here, floral dance, dancing here, prancing there, jigging, jogging everywhere, up and down and around the town. Hoorah for the Cornish floral
Goodness me, that's a rarity from the vaults there, from 2UE back in the early 50s there.
I think that was Jack Davey with him.
Oh, is that right? He's at the. He had a bit of a stubble, poor fellow, at the start. But you know,
not to worry.
It didn't matter at all. But he was able to get back on the horse and just carry on. And he sang with such beautiful tone, lovely grain. I really like his voice.
A real heart warmer, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. Oh, it's fascinating to hear that. There's one other recording here. He made some recordings, very early stereo, 1955. His last recordings were made in stereo, which is quite remarkable when you think he started recording at the very beginning of the gramophone back in 1904. And it is incredible, isn't it? So his last record was in stereo, and it's Clancy of the Overflow. And most interesting thing about this is the conductor is a very young Charles McKerris in 1955. So it's the Banjo Paterson poem. I think it's sort of an adaptation of it. It's with the London Symph, and it's in full stereo, which will sort of will combine into mono for the purpose of our missions. We can do stereo missions. We have in the past.
We have indeed. I've listened very satisfactory.
Yeah, that has worked.
I've got to rig it up.
Yeah, we should do it because it can be done. But anyhow, let's have one more recording of Peter Dawson and with Clancy of the Overflow. Recorded in 1955. He was 73 years of age.
I had written him a letter, which I had for want of better knowledge, sent to where I met him down the Lachlan years ago. He was shearing when I knew him, so I sent the letter to him, just on spec addressed as follows: Clancy of the Overflow. And an answer came directed in a writing unexpected, and I think the same was written with a thumbnail dipped in tar. 'Twas a shearing mate who wrote it, and verbatim I will quote it: Clancy's gone to Queensland droving, and we don't know where he are. In my wild erratic fancy visions come to me of Clancy, gone a droving down the Cooper, where the western drovers go. As the stock are slowly stringing, Clancy rides behind them singing. For the drover's life has pleasures that the townsfolk never know, and the bush has friends to meet him, and their kindly voices greet him. In the murmur of the breezes and the river on its bars, and he sees the vision splendid of the sunlit plains extended, and at night with all its wonder and the glory of the stars. I am sitting in my dingy little office, where a stingy ray of sunlight struggles feebly down between the houses tall, and the fetid air and gritty of the dirty, dusty city. Through the open window floating spreads its foulness over all, and in place of lowing cattle I can hear the fiendish rattle of the tramways and the buses making hurry down the street, and the language uninviting of the gutted children fighting comes fitfully and faintly to ceaseless tramp of feet. And And the hurrying people daunt me, and their pallid faces haunt me, as they shoulder one another in their rush and nervous haste. With their eager eyes and greedy, and their stunted forms and weedy, for townfolk have no time to grow, they have no time to waste. And somehow rather fancy that I'd like to change with Clancy, like to take a turn at roaming where the seasons come and go, while he faced the round eternal of the cash book and the Jordan Hole. But I doubt he'd suit the office, Clancy of the
It's Peter Dawson's final recording with the London Symph with Charles McCarris back in the 50s. How about that? What a voice.
He's in good voice, wasn't he?
Really good voice. He's solid as a rock. Yeah, it's nice to hear the overtones and the colours in his voice captured.
Yeah, a bit of ambience.
Yeah, definitely. It sort of it gives a lot more majesty. It's so hard in the early days of the gramophone to really capture that vibrancy. But which they sort of did, but you really have to listen deep for it. But in this instance, it's great to hear. It's in good form. Well, I thought we'll give him the bookend treatment. So we've heard his last. So let's go and hear his first. I've been able to find it, and it's got a bit of a story attached to it. It's quite interesting, and it's a cylinder record made for Edison Bell back in 1904. Now he refers to it in his biography. I'm just going to get this queued up. Yeah, it says in his biography, he says, as in a dream, I heard them discussing the kind of song I should sing for the first record I was to make for sale. It was only then that I knew I had made a success and I was actually going to start making records. The song finally decided on by Edward Hess, the musical director, was Navarro, which was being sung with success on the music halls at that time. But before the recording date was fixed, Hunting commenced another fractious argument. We've got to do one thing. That changes the name. That's changed the name. Everyone in the States is called Pete. So, sure enough, my Christian name was changed from Peter to Leonard.
Oh, I thought he was going to be Pete Dawson.
Yeah. No, apparently Pete was not, it was seen as a bit common.
I think so.
And so his Christian name was changed from Peter to Leonard. My first phonograph records were issued as by Leonard Dawson. But after a few weeks, Mr. Howe changed it back.
Oh, God.
So there we go. So this is an Edison Bell cylinder for 1904. And apparently it's the very first recording that Peter Dawson made. So I think it's announced too.
Navajo, sung by Mr. Leonard Dawson, Edison Bell Record.
Down on the sandhills of New Mexico, there lives an Indian man. He's of the tribe they call a Navajo. Face of a copper shade, and every evening there was a coon who came his long to sleep. There is a silvery light of the moon, it helps us sing the beat, and when they were all alone, he
Okay, I was expecting another chorus. Of course, that's a 2-minute cylinder, so we just get the we just get one chorus and a verse, and or a couple. But yeah, there we have Peter Dawson as Leonard Dawson on his very first recording, which is actually captured pretty well. You get the essence of his voice. It's well, and you can tell it's him for sure. But yeah, fascinating document. Yeah, going way back, there's all sorts of great Dawson recordings we should sort of consider. I'd like to sample some and put together a program. And I know there's been a number of programs put together looking at his music. Maybe I should just play one of them. Mr. Hare's got some great Dawson retrospectives. Now, I'm just looking, and I noticed that there is a very short interview where he's remembering Nellie Melba. I would like to hear this. It'd be most interesting. What fascinated me, Frank, was that he still had his Australian accent right up to the end. I thought that that was amazing. You know,
Sounded quite mature, didn't he?
yeah, he did, and just a natural speaking voice. He wasn't sort of affected, and he'd been living, of course, in Britain for a very long time, or based there. So. To coin a phrase, but yeah, here we go. Peter Dawson remembering Dame Nellie Melba.
And Peter Dawson looks back even further to the days when she sang with Caruso at Covent Garden in the operas that suited them best.
Bohème. My goodness, the way she used to carry when she walked off the stage and carry that top C right through when she went off the stage, and you could hear that still going away in the distance. Magnificent. A hush, and up they would go. They would wave their programs and throw their handkerchief up. Oh, it was really remarkable. The Melbourne nights, the gala nights when they had roses. All the theatre decorated with beautiful roses. But they could hardly breathe. The atmosphere was so charged with the rose aroma that it affected the singing. And the scintillating diamonds, the diamonds of the aristocracy that attended the old Covent Garden nights there. The atmosphere was simply marvellous because the dressing rooms were all in sort of corridors. But the biggest ones, of course, and the largest was Dame Nellie's. As she was the principal singer, and nobody could depose her, and she could stop any singer from coming there to sing. And one was mentioned, I think it was Tetrazzini. She hadn't a chance of even getting in there with a tin opener while Nellie was there. But as soon as Nellie went, in came Tet. Well, anyway, it had Melba, great letters. Melba, silence. Silence.
On the dressing room?
Silence everywhere on the stage, and they used to watch. And whenever she came out of her dressing room to come across to enter whatever set she was going to sing on, all these crept away like mice out of sight. They wore plimsoll shoes so they wouldn't make any noise.
They must have been patently terrified of her.
Yes. I think she was a bit of a, dragon.
I think she might have been, yeah. So one thing I would like to explore with Peter Dawson, I'll leave it for another time because I'd like to do some readings as well. And that's from the Gerald Moore biography. He talks about recording and performing art songs.
Oh, yes.
With Peter Dawson. And I think Dawson did actually record some Schubert songs and some Brahms songs. And I'd really love to hear them. We'll have to dig them up and just get some background to that material because I think he would sing them with great sense of. I think he'd be very emotionally and personally invested in anything. You really get that sense of his deep musicianship.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Anyhow, well, look, we'll move on. And there's one record I was going to play tonight, and I've lined it up. It's very kitschy. It's very bizarre. It's just crazy stuff. And I'd like to play it because it's just there. And it's one of John Hanna's uploads. It's a very early recording. It's similar time to the one we've just heard earlier. It's a whistling song.
Oh, good.
Yes, it's Frank Stafford, who is a whistler, apparently, and the Bohemia Orchestra, and some Edwardian kitsch. It's almost Victorian kitsch. It's got a track called The Mockingbird. So we'll cue it up and have a listen, but it's just, I had a little sample. I thought, gosh, this is the sort of thing that people really used to sit down and listen to. So, yeah, it's very much of its time, but fascinating nevertheless. Well, there we go. That's what they did.
Yeah.
I wonder if he was a throat whistler or a lip whistler.
Oh, definitely lip whistler, I think.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing any of the smart yodely throat
No,
things.
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
But he was all right. He was good.
Yeah, he sort of did the thing, very much in that vaudeville tradition.
Back in the 50s and I think into the 40s, there was a Australian weekly show called The Amateur Hour.
Yeah, yeah.
It was started by, it was originally compared by a guy called Dick Fair,
Yes.
and later by someone called Terry Deer.
Yes, I remember Terry D from 3AW.
That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to specialise in what they call novelty acts.
Yes.
They'd always have at least one a week.
Mm-hmm.
And they were this sort of, and you could do anything. They had spoons players. They had people playing gum leaves.
I think I've heard some of these episodes of people get up and play harmonicas and then they do their parlour acts and things like that.
All of that. One night they had somebody doing, playing a saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
you bend. They're very flexible saws.
Yes.
I don't know how they. I think they probably ran a bow across it.
They do. They use a violin. Remember we used to play those recordings of Gregory Blanc
Oh yes,
playing the saw, the musical saw. He also played the theremin, of course.
I did.
And but he was a beautiful musical saw player. Oh, I wonder what he's doing. Gregory Blanc.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, Gregory Blanc, I think his name. I have not seen him for
Greg
ages.
White in French.
Yeah, that's right. It is too. I can't find him here. I will look him up because I think maybe we'll charge it up for an afternoon mission.
Yeah, sure. It's
Because
probably out more afternoon missions.
Yeah, but look,
Fair.
they're lovely performances, and
Oh, yes.
he was certainly an excellent performer.
And they could hold a tune on the gum leaf, some of them.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's good. I remember, I've heard a couple of the Terry Deer programs, and he's incredibly patient.
Yes, he is, yes.
But it's sort of it's almost entered into the lingo, hasn't it? Amateur
Yeah.
hour. You know, sadly, it's sort of become a condescending sort of
Yeah,
term.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, so I've heard a number of politicians use it disparagingly.
Yeah, I know.
But it's good to reference that. But the great thing is that it gave. I mean, I'm sure many people had something up their sleeve, had these hidden talents, or they'd perform at home, and Uncle Joe was a great gum leaf player.
Yes.
He'd get his gum leaf out at the
Or Uncle Harry had a little accordion box,
Yes.
a 50-button accordion he
That's
used to
right.
play.
Exactly. So,
Just from Lamberti's music.
yeah. Yes. Gosh, that brings back memories. Got my first cello from Lamberti's music.
Did you really?
Yeah, Lamberti brothers went out there to their warehouse in North Melbourne and picked one. Yeah, that's right. Gosh, they were an institution, a local institution. They certainly were. Yeah, all right. Well, we've heard the whistling record. There's a recording also that's been uploaded by Mr. Hanna, a very, very early Victor recording from 1901, this one. And it features a mandolin player called Samuel Siegel, who apparently wrote a mandolin method book and was sort of big in the mandolin circles. But he did make this record back in 1901, a heck of a long time ago, the very early days of flat discs, but announced. So I thought this would be worth a play too. It's quite historic. And while playing that, I'll see if I can get this violin recording lined up, because that will be our feature after this. You heard the mandolin recorded 124 years ago.
Wow.
Amazing. So, yeah, quite a historic recording there of Mr. Siegel. Okay, made in the US. Now, there's a whole matter of things that have popped into the sphere. But I will just play a couple more records because it's getting late and busy morning tomorrow.
Yes, you're starting very early.
Yeah, I'm picking up Mr. L around about 8:30, I think.
Oh, that's a good idea. It's good to get these things early, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. Just it's a hard one to find a park for. The Moorabbin Hamfest. It's at the Moorabbin Town Hall, and it's difficult. The best thing is to park on the other side of the of the road. But anyhow, we'll work it all out and walk there. But I thought there is a recording of Mr. Elman which I've never heard, and it's from that really golden period where he just had the most. We always had the most ravishing sound. But he had a very fast vibrato early on and just had this penetrating tone, even on acoustic recordings, and just his musicianship is just something to behold. I'm in awe of these early Elman records. They're all great, but particularly this era. And it's a tune called Alice, Where Art Thou? And I think it's sort of like a parlor ballad or something. But
it sounds like.
Yeah, but he plays it as if it's the Tchaikovsky concerto. And I just had a little sample. I thought, oh my goodness, I've got to feature this. And that was never on my radar. So, yeah, it's from the acoustic era. He made a series of records in 1913, another set 1917, and this one is from 1921. There's a fairly young Misha Elman. The way he can carry a phrase is just one of the wonders of the universe. I just in suspended disbelief how beautiful that performance was. Yeah, he just has this fabulous glow to his sound, and he just carries the phrase.
Sort of delicious, isn't it?
It is. Oh, and it's so dignified, such respect. I mean, it's just a simple little piece, but he performs it with as if it's the most important thing, and never ever trivialized his music, and always had saw every piece of music as being a something wondrous to behold.
Yeah.
And you always get that dignity, that reverence in Elman's playing, and his double stops. It's like two violins.
It is. They're so perfectly in pitch.
Yeah, he had beyond perfect pitch. He had this marvelous way of finding the absolute centre of the note, so that it just sprung alive, and and I think that's a part of his great sound. Is even the late recordings of Elman, really late recordings made just before he died in the 60s, he is always perfectly in tune. It's just he never ever lost his sense of pitch. He never played out of tune, and he just always could find the centre of the note. It is so remarkable. So that's a special find. Well, look, I'd like to just feature. This only goes to 10 minutes, but it's really worth hearing. And this is just something I had no idea existed, and it's been put up by it's a site called Hector's Rare Recordings. I don't know anything about the collector, but
Hector the Collector.
Yeah, Hector the Collector. That's it. And he's got these access to the stuff that's just no one's ever heard of. And this is an obscure Russian release from the 50s, and it features Nelly Sholnikova, who is the violin teacher at the College of the Arts. She came to Melbourne, I think, in her later years, perhaps in the 60s and 70s. I remember her as an older woman, and I had friends who studied with her. She was a taskmaster. She really worked everyone very, very hard.
Okay.
But they all had great respect for her. And so she sort of ended up here. I don't know if she went back to Europe or to Russia at any point. But earlier on, she was a product of the Russian school and just a super virtuoso. And one of these players who just had incredible command. And so this record of hers is the music of Paganini, and she plays the famous Moses variations on one string. And I don't know if it's strictly on one string, but it's all. I think it's all on the G.
Oh yeah.
Anyhow, it's
the G string.
Yeah, but she plays it really, really well. It's incredible. So I think we'll feature this, and then we'll have just something to tie the ribbons up at the end. Is there anything that you have on your radar we'd like to feature as our?
Thank you. Nothing in particular.
Okay, right. That's fine. All right. Well, we'll hear these variations, and then we'll wind up shortly thereafter. But just check out her sound. She has such a clean sound, and this is violin playing of the highest order. So here we go. Nelly Sholnikova. music of Nelly Sholnikova, an artist who lived in Melbourne in her later years. I've just found a biographical on her, and she was born in 1928 and died in 2010. Now, I remember when she passed away. She died in Melbourne. She died of cancer. I remember when she died. But yeah, it talks about her huge following in Russia, and she spent years trying to get out of the country. Eventually got out. It's one of those harrowing stories. But she was invited to be the violin professor at the VCA, the Victorian College of the Arts, where she was there for a very long time. Yeah, from 1970 to 82, I think it was, she started. But anyhow, it's lovely to hear her play. Beautiful sound, very clean play.
How do you get that strange tone, I think, that she did towards the end, that sort of back in the back of the violin?
Yes, it's called sul ponticello.
How do you do it?
What you do is you move the bow very, very close to the bridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so basically you change your bow path from a sort of its optimum resonant point, and of course that optimum resonant point, or as I call it, the point of contact, varies depending on where you're positioning. So if you shorten the string length, your optimum resonant point will characteristically change. Yes.
So it's strange you don't hear that more often.
Yes, well, it's something that, as an effect, the sul ponticello is very effective. So you get a sort of a pseudo resonance. You get a surface.
It's a very interesting effect.
It is, and but it's hard to sort of get it to actually to speak. Often the sound just evaporates completely. So she's really mastered it.
Yes, she certainly did.
And but yes, it's
a slightly lower level, wasn't it?
It's lower level. Sorry, and
the level of the sound.
Yes, indeed. The volume. Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
the volume. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. No, it is. It is a lower level, and it's got a different sort of characteristic, of course. And doesn't project, can't project because the string is sort of out of its resonant range.
But I don't recall hearing it before. That's why I'm a bit taken with it.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting one.
Look, I've thought of something that I would like to hear.
Yeah, please.
I heard the end of it on the radio the other day. It's one of my favourite pieces.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever played it. It's that sextet in Lucia de Lammermoor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Lucia Sextet. Oh, there's so many recordings. There's the famous Caruso one. There's one with Pavarotti. There's one with Joan Sutherland. There's one with Lucia with Callas.
You pick. Oh, that could be good.
It could be good, couldn't it? That'd be interesting. No, legendary Callas Lucia Sextet from Berlin, 1955. Let's go with this, hey?
Hey, yeah.
This will be good. Let's wind with this, Frank.
It's good wind music, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's such a marvellous work. That's fabulous choice. Thank you for that. And we'll play it and let it finish the program. It's sometimes with something like this, it's best not to back announce it anyhow.
It's hard to follow it, isn't it? That's what makes it. It says it all, doesn't it?
It does. It's one of those sort of definitive statement pieces. So so we'll catch up with you, Frank, very soon. And listeners, I'm sorry to say there won't be any official missions tomorrow afternoon. If I'm around, I might put on a replay or something. But busy social day tomorrow. And Frank, I'll give you a ring about things too.
Fine.
And so it's all and Sunday I have a concert at the Con, so busy times. So we'll just suspend things until next week in a live manner. So that will be it. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Always great.
Yeah, and thanks, listeners, for your company.
I hope that you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope so. Meander. All right, here we go.
vk3sl going to listening.
Okay, and vk3sl saying cheerio, and we look forward very much to your company next time.
Il refrain un tal momento il ramon che l'avrando corso del suo duolo il suo spavento